Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. He's Hacker.
Talk about a fried egg. I lasted about 5 minutes out there. I said, to heck with this. I'll do this in the morning. And I don't have any inside information. The lady that did it, she got in there. She made it happen.
And he doesn't shy away from opinion.
And I do enjoy drinking cold beer at ballparks. So if that makes me a baseball fan, then I'm a diehard baseball fan.
It's Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
And a very good Tuesday evening to you, Jacksonville. It is Hacker After Dark, 1010XL, 92.5 FM with Dylan Denmark. The Hacker Ryan Green with you. Glad you are with us. A Tuesday night that finds us now inside of 48 hours away from the Sweet 16. I saw the Florida Gators already out in San Francisco. They had a practice at the University of San Francisco earlier today. Of course, that's Todd Golden's former program that he was the head coach of out there with the San Francisco program. So Florida on the ground on the West Coast, getting ready for Maryland. That game will, of course, tip off 7:39, roughly about 7:39 on Thursday. You will hear that game on 10:10 a.m. We will have Hacker After Dark for you on 92.5 FM and be able to kind of react in real time to the Sweet 16 matchup between Florida and Maryland. A lot of news in the NFL tonight. Russell Wilson to the New York Giants. Stephon Diggs to the New England Patriots. Diggs got pretty good money. Russell Wilson got pretty good money. What does all that mean? We'll certainly talk about that coming up as well. Guest lineup tonight looks like this, about 15 minutes away from our buddy Mark Wise of ESPN. We'll certainly talk Florida, Maryland. We'll look at the Sweet 16. We'll look at the SEC. We'll take a look at all of that with Mark Wise of ESPN. That comes up in about 15 minutes or so. Also, Travis Holmes of Big Cat Country and the Duval Dive podcast as we get into the Jacksonville Jaguars towards the top of the 9 o'clock hour. I actually want to start with the Jaguars here in one moment. But as I was telling Rick on the 2-minute drill there, took Little Hack to his first ice skating lesson tonight. My man wants to play hockey. At least that's the sport of choice right now. We've gone from soccer to dodgeball to flag football, and now it's hockey. And hey, man, explore your horizons. Try new things. I'm all for it. Denmark, I don't know if you know this or not, but I'm not the most coordinated guy. And since Little Hack is basically a genetic copy of me, just 42 inches tall, I was very, very concerned that my mini-me would go out there and get hurt on ice. My man's never been on skates in his life, and obviously has never been on an ice rink. And he took some tumbles. I mean, we had him padded up. We had a helmet on him. We obviously many precautions. But he started figuring it out. But I'll tell you this, after 45 minutes of going on that ice and falling down and getting up and over and over and over, my man was exhausted. I have no doubt that Little Hack is in dreamland right now, and his class just got over at about 7 o'clock. I have never once even attempted to ice skate, so Little Hack in 5 years has done more than I've ever done. I did the, man, what was the things we used to have?
Rollerblades?
Yeah, they're like indoor skating rinks, but they weren't ice. They were just indoor skating rinks, right? I've never been on ice in ice skates before, or I guess these were hockey skates. I couldn't imagine doing it. I guess you have, but based on your reaction,
I've done it like once or twice. Yeah, I've tried it before.
Yeah, I there's no way, dude. You're also talking to the guy that's never ridden a bicycle in his life.
Oh, I forgot about this.
Right. I mean, I'm not exactly good with wheels, other than cars / automobile type things. Bicycles, skateboards, skates don't work for me. I've been on a skateboard a handful of times, lived through it. Probably will never be on another one. But I give my man props. He got out there, got after it, kept falling down, kept getting back up. Heart of a champion is what Little Hack showed in his first ice skating rink lesson earlier this evening. So a very proud dad moment for myself tonight as he was doing that. Every night here on Hacker After Dark, we do kick it off with a big deal of the night and Dylan Denmark. Let's do that right now.
Time now for the big deal of the night
What's the big deal?
What is the big deal?
No big deal. It is a big deal.
On Hacker After Dark.
Yeah, it's a big deal. It's a big deal when it comes to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Let me ask you guys something. And I was thinking about this on the drive in. And maybe I'm wrong. You tell me on the text line. Is on by Lifetime Enclosures, 641-1010. Very active offseason here in Jacksonville, no doubt about that. The Jaguars have brought in 10 outside free agents, haven't re-signed any of their own guys. They got a draft coming up in less than a month where they have 10, as of right now, 10 draft picks. So here we are, late March, getting close to the beginning of April. Keep in mind, the off-season workout program for the Jaguars, I believe, is a week from Monday. We're like 13 days away from the guys coming back, starting the off-season program. Then you got the draft, and then we're going to be into rookie minicamp and OTAs in less than 2 months. I mean, it's right around the corner in certain instances. How do you feel about the roster here on March the 25th compared to how you felt about it when the season ended back on January the 6th? And what I mean by that is, if you go position by position, 10 new guys that have departed, the entire ball of wax, do you feel better or worse at given positions now than you did in early January? Well, let's kind of run through it together. Do you feel better at quarterback now with Trevor Lawrence and Nick Mullins than you did with Trevor Lawrence and Mac Jones? Running back is a wash because they basically haven't done anything except lose Dearness Johnson. Wide receiver is a really interesting one, and you probably feel worse, right? You thought you had Christian Kirk and Gabe Davis and Brian Thomas Jr. as your big three heading into the offseason. Now you got De'Ami Brown, BTJ, and Gabe Davis. I would put that in the check column for most people, at least now, probably feel worse at wide receiver than they did in January. Tight end. Again, I would probably say most of you feel worse after the departure of Evan Ingram. Nothing against Brenton Strange and Johnny Munt and Hunter Long, but that's not Evan Ingram. Offensive line, do you feel better? Maybe you have more optimism, but on January 6th, you thought you had Walker Little, Ezra Cleveland, Mitch Morse, Brandon Sheriff, Anton Harrison. On March the 25th, you got Walker Little, Ezra Cleveland, Robert Hainsey, Patrick McCarry, Anton Harrison. Do you feel better about that? Do you feel worse? I would say that's probably maybe a push. Defensive line is the same guys. You haven't added anybody. Linebacker, the same guys. You haven't added anybody. And in the secondary, you said goodbye to Ronald Darby and Andre Sisco, and you added Jordan Lewis and Eric Murray. Again, I don't know if you feel better about that. The Jaguars' goal was to raise the floor of this roster. They obviously, I'm translating that for them, they thought the bottom end of this roster sucked, and they wanted to raise the floor. They were just being PG about it. They were being vanilla to the previous regime. But just look at what they did. They didn't re-sign any of their own free agents. They brought in 10 outside free agents. But if you go position by position right now on March the 25th compared to where we were when the season ended in Indianapolis, roughly, what was that, January 6th or so, I don't know if you can feel a whole lot better about the player personnel. If anything, you probably feel worse at wide receiver with no Christian Kirk. You probably feel worse at tight end with no Evan Ingram. We'll see what the draft has in store for us. Again, 10 draft picks in less than a month at the NFL draft up in Green Bay. So this conversation may indeed change after that. Probably will change. But for the here and now, you got to put all your trust in Liam Cohen and this coaching staff, correct? All your trust in Liam Cohen and this coaching staff. And you just have to hope that they are better. They use their personnel better than Doug Peterson and his staff did. Because 2.5 months into this offseason, with all the player movement being accounted for, both comings and goings on this Jaguar roster, I don't know how objectively you can feel better about the roster itself. I think you feel better about the coaching staff. You probably feel better about the head coach, and you certainly feel better about the general manager. But I don't know how you can feel better about the roster. It's going to come down to putting your trust in that staff, in Liam Cohen, and in James Gladstone. And look, maybe the offensive line is better. Maybe De'Ami Brown will prove to be a diamond in the rough. Maybe Jordan Lewis and Eric Murray are better than Ronald Darby and Andre Sisco. I'm not saying that's not possible, but I'm saying what we have to go on right now on March 25th, I think you probably have questions as to whether you feel better about the roster now than you did when the season ended. And those are fair questions. It's fair to question. But I also think you have more hope in the staff because all of you, I hate to even use that term, but I'm pretty certain it's all of you, had given up on Doug Peterson and Trent Baalke. Either both of them or at least one of them. And you were done. And you wanted change. And you got that change. And you're hoping that change can turn the fortunes around of a roster that at least right now at the end of March, on paper, doesn't appear to be any better than what they had when the season ended in early January. We'll do more on the Jacksonville Jaguars coming up later on in the program. Travis Holmes of Big Cat Country will join us coming up towards the top of the 9 o'clock hour. Coming up next, the Sweet 16. We are less than 48 hours away. And it's not just Florida, Maryland. There are some really good games. Whether it's Kentucky and Tennessee, an SEC battle for the third time. Kentucky's won both the previous two meetings. Can they get Tennessee for a third time this year? You got Auburn and Michigan. You got Alabama, BYU, Ole Miss, Michigan State, Arkansas, and Texas Tech. The winner of that game plays the winner of Florida, Maryland. You got Purdue, Houston, that's going to be played in Indianapolis. What sense does that make? Houston's the number 1 seed, and their reward for that is playing essentially a road game in the Sweet 16 in Indianapolis against Purdue. That is ridiculous. A lot of interesting games coming up. No doubt about it. Let's talk about all of them with Mark Wise. ESPN, he does a terrific job covering the SEC all year long. He's now in the midst of NIT coverage. In fact, he's up in Chicago getting ready for an NIT quarterfinal tomorrow night that you'll see on ESPN2. But Mark has carved out a little time for us here on Hacker After Dark to certainly talk Florida and look at the rest of the Sweet 16. Mark Wise of ESPN joins us next on a Tuesday night here in Northeast Florida with Dylan Denmark. The Hacker Ryan Green with you. Jacksonville, we're glad you're with us. It's Hacker After Dark right here on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM.
Not just a friend.
Dan Hicken and Jeff Prosser.
A partner.
Together they are The Drill.
There's no going back. You've changed things.
Weekday mornings on 1010XL.
Forever.
Blue here for the Blue Crab House, located right off of San Jose. It's on Jewington Creek Road. They've been around since 1996. Indoor-outdoor dining. Also, takeout is available at the Blue Crab House. Open 4:30 to 9, Tuesday through Saturday. Sunday, noon until 9. Remember, Tuesday, $2 margaritas. Wednesday, $1 oyster night. How about the blue crabs? How about my personal favorite, the Canadian snow crabs? Whatever it is that you fancy, you get it right there. The Blue Crab House.
At Performance Painting, we've spent decades protecting commercial properties with durable, long-lasting coatings. And we can bring the same expertise when painting the exterior of your home. With industry-leading materials and a proven process, we extend the life of your home, reducing maintenance costs and preserving its value. Now, for a limited time, save $500 when you hire us to paint your home's exterior. Just mention 1010XL. Go to performancepainting.com to schedule a friendly estimate. Performance Painting. Repair, protect, preserve.
Performance Painting. If you are an experienced electrician looking for your next big opportunity, look no further than the Miller Electric Company, a trusted name in the industry for over 96 years. At Miller Electric, we tackle the biggest projects in the city, offering you the chance to showcase your skills on a grand scale. We believe in rewarding hard work with the best pay, top-notch benefits, and an unbeatable culture where people actually care about each other. Take your career to new heights with Miller Electric Company. Apply today at millercareers.com. Miller Electric, an equal opportunity employer.
Do you know someone looking for a fun and rewarding summer job? Join the YMCA team, gain valuable experience, and make a difference in kids' lives. Turn your passion for this community into a fulfilling career at the First Coast YMCA. Now hiring camp counselors, lifeguards, child care leaders, and membership experience team. Every single person on the dedicated YMCA staff plays a role in making the Y a welcoming and vital resource for our community. Find your career at the Y at fcymca.org.
Equal opportunity employer.
Have you tried golfing at the improved Cimarron Golf Club? If you haven't, tell you what, you're missing out on the best deal in Jacksonville. Now, many of you have received a postcard in the mail, and of course, if you bring that with you, $45 plus tax to play. That includes a cart, lunch, and a beer at the brand new Stone Barrel Tap House. Now, go to the website, that is CimarronGolfClub.com, and sign up for the Wild One Loyalty Program. That's the Wild One Loyalty Program, and get all of these specials emailed to you from Cimarron.
Out with the old, in with the organized. Mia here for my friends at Closets by Design. Freshen up your home this spring with a custom organization solution. For a limited time, take advantage of our spring special and enjoy exclusive savings on closets, garages, home offices, and more. That's 40% off with an additional 50% off with 12-month special financing through April. Spring on this deal before it's gone. Call today to schedule your free in-home consultation with Closets by Design.
It's the Gator Podcast Channel with Frank Frangie and me, Dan Hicken, on all things Gators. Hacker and Denny Thompson have Gator Bites, and you can find them wherever you find podcasts or at 1010XL.com. Presented by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
New and pre-owned firearms are always in stock at Beach's Jewelry and Pawn in Jacksonville Beach. Want a new sidearm or rifle? Brands like Kimbar, Smith & Wesson, Sig Sauer, and Beretta. No lines, no hassle. Beach's Jewelry and Pawn in Jacksonville Beach.
Hicken here for Bow 9 Associates, where you'll find Jacksonville's most esteemed eye doctors at each of their locations. After being selected for one of the most competitive ophthalmology fellowships in the world, Dr. Frank Bowden is frequently called upon for his expert opinion. He is currently one of the few cornea and external disease specialists in the area and the founder of Bow 9. Visit Bow 9 Associates today and experience the difference. Bow 9 Associates, keeping the First Coast focused.
Instant Keys. You don't have to go to the dealer. Instant Keys comes to you.
Instant Keys saves the day if you have lost or broken keys. They can program new keys and remotes for nearly every make and model of vehicle at a fraction of the dealership cost. Fast, honest, and reliable locksmith service. Call 722-1111.
Instant Keys. Instant Keys. You don't have to go to the dealer. Instant Keys comes to you.
Cannonball!
Honey, someone's in our pool.
Oh, refreshing.
John, what are you doing?
Oh, hey, Dave. Seeing as how me and the guys at Clearwater Irrigation reinstalled your sprinklers after the pool contractor ripped it out, I thought you wouldn't mind if I took a quick dip.
But in a Jaguar print Speedo?
Yeah, Dave. My bad.
Clearwater Irrigation. We can't sing a lick, but we sure are good at sprinklers.
And drainage, too.
Every morning that you wake up in a pest-free home is a good morning. And with Florida Pest Control's Pest-Free 365 service, you can. It's more than just a pest control or preventative maintenance plan. It's Florida Pest Control's promise that we'll be there providing pest-free living for your family all year long. And right now, our initial pest service is just $99. To learn more about our Pest-Free 365 service and to schedule your $99 initial pest service, visit flapest.com today.
Pick in here, beat the spring cleaning rush, and call our cleaning heroes at Zero Res. This month, get one room Zero Resified starting at $53. Take $100 off your air duct cleaning. Visit ZeroResJacksonville.com and tell them 1010XL sent you.
Zero Res.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
Back here on 1010XL at 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. We have gone from 68 and we are down to the Sweet 16. And of those 16, 7 out of the Southeastern Conference, including the Florida Gators. They will take on Maryland Thursday night, a game you will hear right here on 1010XL. Let's talk about all of it with Mark Wise of ESPN. The man is a college basketball encyclopedia, and Mark is always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL. Mark, how we doing?
I'm doing great, man. It's a hectic time of the year. I'm involved in the NIT. I actually watched the Florida game yesterday, 35,000 feet high. It's that time of the year. I mean, the madness is all around us.
There's no doubt about it. And there's a couple of branches I want to talk about with you before we get to the Gators and the SEC in particular. One of the talking points on some of the national shows this morning, Mark, is the lack of a Cinderella, right? There are no mid-majors. In fact, there's only one double-digit seed left, and that's Arkansas, and that's John Calipari. They're far from a Cinderella.
That doesn't seem like a Cinderella to me.
No, not at all. I mean, you love this game. You followed this game for years. Are you concerned with the lack of mid-majors, the lack of Cinderellas, and is that a direct result of NIL?
It is a direct result. I am concerned. I don't know what to do about it. The way things are going to be in the near future, in my opinion, will lead to more of this. It's why I have said I would like for the tournament to expand, not just to include more big guys, but if we do expand 8 more teams, I think at least 2 or 3 have got to come from teams outside the power conferences. Would that mean more teams outside the power conferences in the Sweet 16? No. But I do think that when we start divvying up the NCAA money pie, we've got to give the mid-major conferences a better chance at that $3 million per NCAA tournament win.
It's an interesting situation. And again, even in round 1, right, you had a couple. You had McNeese with a win, Colorado State, New Mexico. There were some, Drake, right? That's another one. But there were certainly not as many as we are used to. And the fact, Mark, that 7 Sweet 16 teams are from the Southeastern Conference. Look, I had a lot of people giving me grief because I'm an SEC homer, I guess, and calling us overrated, this, that, and the other after round 1. Mark, those people were awfully quiet in the last 48 hours when the SEC went 7-1 in round 2.
Yeah, I want to let me go back just one question also. You know, if Queen doesn't hit the shot for Maryland, I think we have a different conversation about Cinderella.
Right.
Because Colorado State was 1 shot, 1 possession away from being there. The league, I guess I'm a little surprised at how easily Ole Miss won yesterday. I guess I'm a little surprised that Arkansas continues their good play, but this is the way they've been playing for the last month. So not a shock there. I'm not surprised in the totality that the league got 7 teams in. It was that good from November to March. You remember when the Big East had 11 teams way back whenever it was, they only put 2 into the Sweet 16. So this is another continuation of a historic season for the SEC. Now, unfortunately, as you and I have discussed many times, it's both the beauty and the curse of the NCAA tournament. Way too much emphasis, way too much grading on how well your team, how well your conference did in a particular season is based, in my view, too much on how you did in the tournament.
Mark Wise of ESPN with us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. That brings us to Florida. Look, Mark, on Sunday when they played UConn, they've lost that game a lot in years past. That is a game that Florida, Gator fans could see the writing on the wall. You know, at the end of the first half, we've seen this song and dance, particularly against this UConn program. 5 minutes to go, things are just going UConn's way. And then Walter Clayton Jr. happened. Those two threes just absolutely lifted Florida to a victory that, I'll be honest, I didn't think they were going to get with 5 minutes left.
Yeah, there were a couple of things that happened in the game, and I agree with your assessment. It seemed like all the 50-50 balls, the basketball God plays were going UConn's way the first 35 minutes. And then, you know, when you have a couple of plays off the free throws that Florida had and the one that fumbles around and just lands in Martin's lap, if I were Florida, I would not count on that kind of good fortune again. I think you do have to catch some along the way, and maybe Florida's already used theirs up. In addition to the Clayton shots down the stretch, though, Hacker, I mean, UConn played really well. I mean, they had a good scheme. They got Florida involved in a game in the mud, low possession game, long possession game. They run great stuff on the half court where they've always got three-point threats, cutting action, backdoor action, what I used to call the Kansas cut along the baseline. And I thought they ran it well. The only way that I think you can guard that kind of stuff effectively is you got to play harder than the offense. And I didn't think Florida in the first 30 minutes of the game played harder than UConn's offense. However, I give a lot of credit down the stretch, especially to Martin and to Will Richard in the way that they kind of elevated the team's effort. I thought down the stretch. Now, UConn still missed a couple of wide open threes, but for the most part, they were much better. And then the other thing that I wanted to bring to your attention, everybody's going to talk about Clayton's shots. And yes, that's what eventually won the game. But when Florida, remember this, when Florida was playing uphill from like the 10-minute mark to the 5-minute mark in the second half, and when I say uphill, I mean playing from behind, they were continually, how many times did they run their half-court offense, execute beautifully, and get Condon and Chinyelu dunks, wide open dunks inside? Mm-hmm. So that's what enabled them to kind of hang around in spite of some poor free throw shooting.
Mark Wise of ESPN. And Mark, look, I go back to the Find Away 94 Florida team. It took Danielle Marshall a couple of missed free throws for Florida to advance. 2000, Mike Miller over Butler. You know, even the back-to-back title teams.
They missed a free throw there, too.
Yeah, they did. Even the back-to-back title teams. Georgetown had a shot to beat Florida in the first year.
That's
then
right.
The second year, Florida had a couple of games, particularly with that round of 32 game against Purdue, that could have gone either way. So, I mean, if you're the Gator fan and you're saying, well, they didn't play very well, games like this happen in the NCAA tournament. They call it survive and advance for a reason.
Yeah, and without giving UConn their due is just not right. I mean, we talked about this last week. Other than the 1 and 2 seeds in the first round, once you get beyond that, these are not, you're not 14-point favorites. I mean, these are anywhere from 2 points to 6-point spreads. And so that means 2 possessions. Well, that can go either way. So it's one of those tournaments. If this were a 7-game series, as I watch UConn all year, as I watch Florida all year, I think Florida wins 4-2. Mm-hmm. But in a 1-game setting, these are the kind of things that can happen.
Now let's go to Thursday night as we look ahead to the Sweet 16. And when it comes to Florida and Maryland, Mark, you could legitimately make the argument that these are two teams that might be lucky to be there. I think most people would tell you UConn outplayed Florida, certainly played them equal for 90% of that game on Sunday, and then Maryland was losing with a second to go before Queen did what he did and the buzzer beater. Psychologically, is there any advantage going in? You also have the mindset of both teams on the East Coast having to go basically as far as possible in the continental U.S. out to San Francisco, which also will play a factor.
Yeah, I don't think that's any deal. Both teams are going traveling 3 time zones. They're both playing the same time of the day, so I don't think that's an issue whatsoever. This is a Maryland team that's top 20 in Ken Palm's offensive and defensive efficiency. They're ranked number 10, I think. They've got a legit lottery pick in Queen, a guy that's averaging 16 points a game. They have, a lot of people think they have as good a starting five, they all average in double figures, as anybody in the country. They are not a very deep team, though. They're ranked in the 300s in terms of minutes off the bench. So I'm sure part of the game, and they run. They're not afraid to get the ball up and down the floor. They'll give you what I call different speeds during different times of the game, whereas Florida just wants to get it and go. Alabama, they want to get it and go all the time. But I think part of the game plan will be to have those Florida bigs, those four bouncy bigs, run the floor all the time, make Derek Queen have to cover, 60, 70 feet every possession.
Who do you like, Florida and Maryland?
Again, I think Florida's depth makes them, I think, a better, a safer, golly, I hate to use that word, a safer play. I like the fact that Florida can come at you from different ways in the three-point line. They don't rely on just one guy. They have one guy who's going to get the ball in crunch time. But remember, Richard made a couple of big threes in the second half. Remember that Martin kind of carried them in the first half the other day. So they've got different three-point options. I think they can win the game in more different ways than Maryland can.
Final moments, Mark Wise of ESPN. Mark, the other game out in San Francisco, Texas Tech and Arkansas. Look, Texas Tech looks very good. Arkansas, I don't know if there's been two more impressive wins, honestly, than beating Kansas and beating St. John's. Very impressive what Calipari's done in that team so far. Who do you like between the Razorbacks and the Red Raiders?
I think one of the teams that we're not talking enough about is Texas Tech. I think the versatility that they play with on both ends of the floor is awfully impressive. This is going to be an interesting week, I think, for Arkansas, because they are going to get all the accolades. And yet when they line it up on Thursday night in San Francisco, they don't get to start with a 6-point advantage, a 10-point advantage. So I'm going to say that I like Texas Tech here because I think they're the better defensive club. But the way that if Arkansas's front court continues to play as they have, the combination of Adu, Ivasic, and the way Brazil has played lately, if they continue to play at that high a level, they'll be there right there at the end. I can see this one going either way.
One of the more intriguing Sweet 16 matchups, Mark, is round 3 between Kentucky and Tennessee. And interestingly enough, Kentucky's got a 2-0 lead in the season series. Yeah. Can they beat Tennessee for a third time in a row?
I got to tell you, Ryan, I'm a big believer in these kinds of situations. I'd much rather be the team that's won twice than the one that's lost twice. But, man, I may have to make an exception here. The issue is Kentucky has been able to find offense against Tennessee two times. Tennessee doesn't have a large margin for error on offense. They do on defense, but not offensively. Opera's got to play really, really big for them inside. And Lanier, as he's done all year, he's got to be able to make shots. I think the line is favoring Tennessee here, and I think I favor Tennessee as well.
As we wrap up, Mark, whether it's Alabama, BYU, Auburn, Michigan, Ole Miss, and who do they play? Michigan State, I believe. Anything else jump out to you?
Well, I think the over-under for the BYU-Bama game is going to be somewhere around 400.
Yeah.
That's going to be a fascinating game. Neither team's going to defend the other very much, I don't think. I can easily see the winner in this game getting 100. Here's the thing, that as I look at the bracket right now, I don't see anybody on the right side that can beat Duke right now.
Interesting. All right, because Duke has looked very, very impressive with Cooper Flagg. All right, and I know I've had you on enough over the years to know what you're probably going to say, but I'm going to ask you anyway. Just for argument's sake, if you had to give me 4 teams that come out of this weekend, because they are all going to need to make shots, which I know that's what you're going to tell me. It's about making shots. Who are the 4 teams that Mark Wise thinks makes it to San Antonio?
Well, they are still the 4 teams I have in my bracket, so I'm going to stick with them. I have Auburn and Florida on the left side. I have Duke. And the only team that I think can beat Houston is actually Tennessee because they play similar to Houston. Now, can Lanier make enough shots against the Houston defense? That'll be problematic. But I've got 3 number 1s, and then I got the Vols going to the Final Four.
Well, I certainly hope we're talking next week about Florida heading to San Antonio and what a situation that would be if it were a rematch against, say, an Auburn in the Final Four. Holy moly. Now,
Don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. If you get there, it doesn't matter who you play.
Agreed. They just got to find 2 wins in San Francisco, and that's kind of a cool backdrop. Todd Golden going back to San Francisco. That's a little intrigue there.
No question about it. You spent 3 years there, took them to the NCAA tournament. Oddly enough, I've been watching their game last night, because I've got the NIT on Wednesday. I've got Loyola Chicago hosting Kent State in the quarterfinals. So I've actually been watching the Dons here a little bit today.
You can check Mark Wise out, NIT Wednesday night. Is that on ESPN, The Deuce? Where
that
can
would
people
be on
find
the
that?
Deuce.
The Deuce.
That'll be on the Deuce.
You can check out Mark Wise Wednesday night on The Deuce with NIT quarterfinal action. Mark, I know you're busy. Thank you as always for the time, buddy. I'll talk to you again soon.
Talk to you next week.
It's hard to explain, but play-by-play just sounds better on the radio.
What a turn of events!
1010XL, Jacksonville's home for play-by-play.
Hey, Jacksonville. You know what you get when you play a country song backwards. You get your wife back, your truck back, your dog, your SUV, and your job back. Well, at Garber Auto Mall, you don't have to play the country song backwards. We understand that bad things happen to good people, and we're here to help. With 8 all-American brands, Ford, Chrysler, Jeep, Dodge, Ram, Chevy, Buick, GMC, and a huge selection of pre-owned vehicles in stock. Visit us in Green Cove Springs or at GarberAutomall.com.
The 2025 NFL season is right around the corner, and the Jags are building something special. A fresh team, a new culture, and a stadium that's going to change the game. Be there to witness head coach Liam Cohen and the rest of the coaching crew in action and secure your place in line for the stadium of the future with your 2025 season ticket membership. Visit Jaguars.com/tickets or call 904-633-2000. We can't wait to see you at the bank this fall.
Bueller. Stay cooler with Bueller.
Hey, buddy, you look worried.
Worried? I'm apoplectic!
You're what now?
I'm freaking out, Jason. Stupid water heater crapped out, so I haven't showered since Thursday. I start smelling a little funky, blow my big corporate job interview tomorrow, I'll end up settling for some dead-end career selling spatulas on the internet.
Dude, stay cool.
There's nothing cool about a cold shower, Jason. I mean, I know how that sounds, but...
Bueller Air and Plumbing can get a new water heater installed today. The day you call. You could be smelling fresh again by dinner time.
Wait, you can do that?
Put on these sunglasses. Whoa. Is that cooler?
Oh, yeah.
Well, life moves pretty fast. If you spend much more time smelling like this, you could miss it.
Stay cooler with Bueller.
Visit BuellerAir.com.
Welcome to AT&T. How can I help?
Hey, I thought I could trust my twins with my phone, but they outnumber me, man.
Whoa, that's a lot of glitter paint. Let's trade
lives.
At AT&T, everyone can trade in an old or glittered iPhone. Any year, any condition, and save on a new iPhone. Ask how to get iPhone 16 Pro on us. New and existing customers. Savings vary by device and trade-in combinations. Restrictions apply. See att.com for details. AT&T. Connecting changes everything.
Big shots that change your bracket.
For the win.
Listen all month for top March moments on 1010XL. Driven by Garber Auto Mall. We can wiggle it.
Greenlaw Group is for the insured. If you think you have roof damage, call 904-302-7055 today, and they will schedule you a free roof inspection. Trust their law firm to help you fight your insurance when you need it. These storms can cause damage you may not even see yet. Call Greenlaw Group 302-7055. There's no cost to retain their law firm and no cost to have your roof inspected. They only get paid if you win. Greenlaw Group, for the insured.
Hi, I'm Jeff
Breyer, president of Lifetime Enclosures and Lifetime Flooring.
And I'm Zach Breyer. When my dad started in business in 1990, I wasn't even born yet.
That's true. And after 35 years and nearly 20,000 satisfied customers, we literally have a showroom in every neighborhood.
So whether you need more outdoor living space with a glass or screen enclosure, or you're looking to transform your home with new flooring, we've got you covered.
Visit our websites, or better yet, do yourself a favor and stop by one of our showrooms on Phillips Highway to experience the Lifetime difference and receive 20% off your purchase now through March.
Denny Thompson here. If you haven't heard, Tyson Sound and Security has a house built right inside their showroom, showcasing complete home automation and security systems. You have to see it to believe it. This setup can recognize intruders who approach your door and alerts them to leave if there's a break-in. Keep your family safe with the most state-of-the-art technology. Tyson Sound and Security, your security, home theater, and home automation experts. New showroom at 3555 U.S. Highway 17 in Fleming Island.
I'm Stacy, and I want to tell you about my fogged up window fiasco at my house. I called up Mac at Baker Glass, and he told me all I needed was a glass replacement. The process was so easy. All within a few days, they came out, measured, called me with an estimate, cut my glass, and came out to install the new ones. Now my view outside is fog-free thanks to Mac and his crew at Baker Glass. And my neighbors think I got some fancy new windows.
I'm Mac with Baker Glass. No one treats you better.
Struggling with ED? Now Riddle Wellness has a solution that works. You've heard of PRP treatments for joint pain relief. That same technology is now available with the P-Shot, a non-surgical treatment for ED. Using your body's natural power, the P-Shot helps restore function naturally. No pills, no downtime, just results. Schedule a free consultation at elevatejacksonville.com and learn what the P-Shot can do for you. Riddle Wellness, your health, your confidence totally restored. Visit elevatejacksonville.com.
Hey, Hicken here, or just call me Dreamfinders Danny. For a limited time to ring in the new year, Dreamfinders Homes is offering an amazing 4.99% fixed interest rate. Now's your chance to lock down that rate and get in the game. You heard me right. It's 4.99 fixed interest rate on select move-in ready homes. Visit dreamfindershomes.com for sales event information and get in the game. Interest rate available on select move-in ready homes. Restrictions and limitations apply. Go to dreamfindershomes.com for more details.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
Yes, it is. Glad you're with us. By the way, a little baseball update. They're going, I believe, to the top of the ninth downtown. Florida State. The Seminoles, a 3-2 lead. Kind of a pitcher's duel, right? How many 3-2 college baseball games do you see, particularly pretty early in the year? 3-2 Florida State heading to the ninth. We'll keep you updated between the Gators and the Florida State Seminoles. Got some reaction to my question earlier. Do you feel better about the Jaguar roster now than you did in early January when the season ended? Put it on Twitter. Also put it on the text line designed by Lifetime Enclosures 641-1010. Hacker, let's all resign ourselves to knowing we aren't winning the Super Bowl this year. We need an offense. We hired an offensive head coach and a front office. We stripped the offense down to the studs. This is year 5 for Trevor. We have to go all in on offense. Anyone wanting a third edge pass rusher, corner, or defensive line help with the first pick is not looking at the big picture. Fair enough. Another response to, is the Jaguar roster better now than it was in early January? By the way, that response was the 947. Can't read that one. Not at all. The roster is still below average. Another response. Not at all, Hacker. The roster is not as good as it was at the end of January, which is saying something. Interesting. Again, I think wide receiver, you could argue, is not as good because Christian Kirk is gone. I think tight end, you could argue, is not as good because Evan Ingram is gone. Now, we don't know what they're going to do in the draft in a month. This conversation will be probably completely different on April 27th than it is on March 25th. But I hear you if you have questions about the roster. But I believe most of you are pretty happy with the head coach, the staff, and the general manager, which that's what you're banking on. If the roster is as good or maybe even slightly worse than what the season ended with, you're hoping that it's simply a better coaching staff that can get more out of their players. We'll see what happens. 10 outside free agents. They didn't re-sign any of their own guys. And yet here we are. A lot of you think the roster is maybe worse now than it was at the beginning of January. A lot of NFL news on this Tuesday night. And by the way, appreciate all the feedback on the text line and on social media. We certainly thank you for that. A lot of feedback tonight on that, and a lot of news in the National Football League. Did you see Mike Tannenbaum, the general manager, former GM that's on ESPN now? He put out a mock draft earlier this morning, and he even updated it when Russell Wilson signed with the New York Giants a couple hours ago. More on that in a moment. But Mike Tannenbaum put out this mock draft on ESPN.com earlier today. He had Cam Ward going to Tennessee at number 1. No surprise there. Had Travis Hunter going to Cleveland at number 2. Now, he did have Shedeur Sanders to New York before Russell Wilson became a New York Giant. Since then, he has updated it in the last hour to have Mason Graham go to New York at number 3. And the interesting thing from our vantage point here in Jacksonville is he has Armand Membo, the offensive tackle of Missouri, going number 4 to New England. Which means, Denmark, Mike Tannenbaum at number 5, and I haven't seen this a whole lot, has Abdul Carter, the edge from Penn State, falling into Jacksonville's lap at number 5. And my question to you is this. Great player, great prospect, not really a position of need with Trayvon Walker and with Joshua Hines-Allen. If Abdul Carter, for some reason, falls to 5, do you take him if you're Jacksonville?
Yes.
Without hesitation.
He's the best player in the draft.
Then what do you do with Trayvon Walker?
Put him inside. You figure it out.
Okay, yeah.
He's not, Trayvon's not just an edge guy. You can put him at a 3 tech. Abdul Carter, if you look up and he's 3/4 of what Micah Parsons is in about 5-6 years, and we have the chance to get him and we pass on him, we are all going to sit here and say, why didn't we get him?
Fair point. Fair point. But would you grant me that it's not exactly a biggest position of need on the roster?
No, it's not. It's not at all.
That would be a tough one for me.
He is the best player in this draft class.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. I don't disagree with you. That would be a very, very interesting one because I do think the Jaguars would probably go Abdul Carter under that circumstance. Again, I don't think Carter's going to be there at 5. That's why I like this mock draft that Tannenbaum put out because it's something different, makes you think a little bit. And I guess you're right. You just find a way to get Hines-Allen, Walker, and Carter on the field at the same time. Remember, you still got Mason Smith. You still got Eric Armstead. You still got a lot of money invested in Devon Hamilton. You would have a lot of draft capital and a lot of free agent dollars invested in the defensive line if you were to go Abdul Carter, if he did fall to you there at number 5. I mentioned Russell Wilson. He is a New York football Giant. Wilson agrees to a 1-year deal that could be worth roughly $21 million. And I guess the question there with Russell Wilson, keep in mind the Giants also signed Jameis Winston last week. Is that enough for them not to go Shedeur Sanders at number 3 if he's there? Obviously, that's not a long-term solution, either Winston or Russell Wilson. Could they still go Shedeur Sanders, or are the Giants now in the Abdul Carter, Travis Hunter market? With that being said, what does Cleveland do at number 2? There's a lot of rumors out of Cleveland that they like Abdul Carter, but what on earth are they going to do at quarterback? I mean, do you realize if the season started today, the starting quarterback of the Cleveland Browns is probably Kenny Pickett? That can't happen. There's just no way. Now, do you trade for Kirk Cousins? I don't imagine Aaron Rodgers ends up there, does he? I can't imagine that scenario. But Cleveland's got problems. And if Shedeur Sanders is there at 2, you have to at least think about that. I am more convinced now than probably I have been this entire process that both Ward and Sanders are going to go in the top 4. I just think that's where it's going to land. I think Ward's going to go 1, probably to the Titans. And I think either Cleveland or the Giants is going to take a gamble on Sanders. And if that's the case, then Jacksonville is going to get either Mason Graham, Abdul Carter, or Travis Hunter. One of those three will be a guarantee to be there for Jacksonville at 5. Not to mention the offensive line with Amar Mimbo and Will Campbell and Tet McMillan from Arizona. So the Jaguars are going to have a very, very interesting decision when it comes to all this, particularly if what I think happens and Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders both go in the top 4. Denmark, does Russell Wilson have anything left for the New York Giants in a one-year capacity?
About 6 wins.
Man, they gave him a lot of money, didn't they?
Yeah, well, I mean, we say that, but we're so used to the old salary cap. I mean, you have $280 million in a salary cap, and they're giving him like $11 million guaranteed, I think.
Yeah, it could be
guaranteed.
worth up to 21.
Yeah, so it's not. I don't think it's that much.
But that's starting money. I mean, it looks like he's going to be the starter. You're not going to pay a backup that. That's why I said Indianapolis with Daniel Jones. They gave him a contract that could be worth up to $14 million. I can't imagine Daniel Jones is going to make $10, $11, $12 million and wear a baseball cap on the sideline for the Indianapolis Colts. I mean, if they were going to do that, why don't sign Nick Mullins for a 2-year, $5.5 million deal if Anthony Richardson's your guy? You're not going to pay Daniel Jones what the Colts paid him, and you're not going to pay Russell Wilson what the Giants paid him unless you think you're going to get a lot out of them this upcoming season. Speaking of money, Stephon Diggs to the New England Patriots. 3 years, over $60 million, $26 million guaranteed. They could get out of it, I believe, after the second year. Diggs, coming off an ACL, was one of the best receivers in football a couple of years ago. Obviously, didn't do very much in Houston last year, but now he joins Drake May and the New England Patriots. Changing of the guard in New England. New England doesn't usually spend a lot of money in free agency. They certainly did this offseason. And I'm trying to think, I mean, do you have to go back to, I guess, Randy Moss, the last big money they spent on a free agent wide receiver? Maybe it is Randy Moss. They're always in the market for Calvin Ridley or guys of that sort, but they never end up with them. T. Higgins. But they do end up with Stephon Diggs, who's over the age of 30, coming off a torn ACL. There are questions about him, but kudos to Mike Vrabel and the Patriots, and you got to imagine that does something to their draft situation. You know, now with Stephon Diggs, you got Drake May there. Do they try to protect him on the offensive line with a Will Campbell and Armand Mimbo? Or do they go potentially Mason Graham? We know Mike Vrabel likes the trenches, right? Likes the O-line and the D-line. Keep in mind the Patriots pick right above Jacksonville. They have the 4th pick. 2 final thoughts here before we get to Travis Holmes of Big Cat Country. Number 1, this may mean nothing. This may mean something. Who knows? You see, J.J. McCarthy has said that the Vikings haven't told him that he's quarterback 1 in 2025. Now, maybe they don't need to tell him that. Maybe it's just assumed that he knows that because obviously Daniel Jones is gone. But J.J. McCarthy, that made some news in Minneapolis that he came out and said, well, I haven't been told that I'm the starting quarterback. And keep in mind, we're almost to April. We're a month away from the draft. And then this came out yesterday. We didn't talk about it, but Puka Nacua, one of the best wide receivers in football with the LA Rams, said he plans to be done by the age of 30 in the National Football League. He plans to retire by the age of 30. Puka Nacua is what, 24, 25? He's still got 5 years left, 6 years left, but he's not planning on hanging around till 32, 33, 34 years of age. Now, could that change in a couple of years? Maybe. But why go public with that sentiment? You see a lot of Patrick Willis, right? Aaron Donald. You got a lot of guys that are calling it a career, you know, when they still have stuff left in the tank. Puka Nacua said he's going to be in that camp, plans to hang it up by the age of 30. Travis Holmes, Big Cat Country. He's also the host of the Duval Dive podcast. Let's talk free agency. Let's talk what the Jaguars have done. I'll ask Travis, is this roster better than it was at the beginning of January? And let's also focus on the draft. What the Jaguars have done to this point in the offseason, how does that play into what they may or may not do in the draft come late April? It is a Tuesday night here in Jacksonville, Florida, with Dylan Denmark, the Hacker Ryan Green with you. Jacksonville, we're glad you're with us. Hacker After Dark till 10 o'clock right here on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM.
Some people think he's Italian.
Passati fare a me.
Maybe he is.
I take everything.
Fat Tony on Jaguars Today with Mike Dempsey.
I dici romani voiamoci a parlare con Fannucci.
Weekdays from 10 to noon on 1010XL.
Here's Linda Beaver.
At Beaver Toyota, we believe your experience should be more than just buying a car. It should be a lifetime of confidence, care, and trust. We're proud to offer a lifetime warranty, lifetime oil changes, and lifetime customer service. We're not just here to sell you a car. We're here to establish a lifelong relationship that you can always count on. It's simple. You deserve the best and shouldn't settle for less. Visit Beaver Toyota in St. Augustine, where we're ready to give you peace of mind for a lifetime. We're here to wow you.
Hey, I'm Tony from Tony D's Pizza. People ask me all day long, is it the water that makes the difference? Well, yes and no. Even water can't make a good pizza. It's the ingredients, too. The best tomatoes, the best flour, and the best cheese. Oh, and a lot of love. Tony D's New York Pizza, Bay Meadows and 295.
Hey, Jacksonville, I'm sure by now you've seen our bright green GFL trucks and containers throughout the greater Jacksonville area. We are an industry leader in solid waste and would love the opportunity to earn your business. We are committed to customer service, reliability, and have unwavering focus on safety. Whether commercial or construction, let us haul your waste away. Call 904-760-5880 to get a quote today. GFL, green for life.
The flagship station of the Jacksonville Jaguars. WJXL AM Jacksonville Beach. WJXL FM Jacksonville Beach.
E.T. here, and spring in Clay County means one thing, the award-winning Clay County Fair. It's more than just rides and a concert, it's an experience. Savor the flavors of classic fair treats, explore family-friendly attractions, and enjoy a perfect mix of small-town charm and big-time fun. Plan your trip with Explore Clay County Tourism and turn your visit into a getaway. Find the best places to stay, eat, and explore at exploreclay.com. And don't forget to share your fair adventures with #ExploreClay.
Out with the old, in with the organized. Mia here for my friends at Closets by Design. Freshen up your home this spring with a custom organization solution. For a limited time, take advantage of our spring special and enjoy exclusive savings on closets, garages, home offices, and more. That's 40% off with an additional 15% off with 12-month special financing through April. Spring on this deal before it's gone. Call today to schedule your free in-home consultation with Closets by Design.
Instant Keys. You don't have to go to the dealer. Instant Keys comes to you. Call 904-722-1111.
Instant Keys saves the day if you've lost or broken keys. They can program new keys and remotes for nearly every make and model of vehicle at a fraction of the dealership cost. Fast, honest, and reliable locksmith service. Call Instant Keys, 722-1111.
At the First Coast YMCA, you'll find much more than just a gym. We offer many ways to help you become more active, reach your weight loss goals, and find your inner strength. Membership at the Y includes state-of-the-art facilities, a huge variety of fitness classes, and programs for all ages. It's easy to join the Y since it's affordable for all incomes. The Y is a great place to make connections and experience something new. Visit the YMCA near you or online at fcymca.org.
Getting a pool? David Garrard here. I just did. But before they dug, I called Clearwater Irrigation, and they capped off all my sprinkler lines so the pool company could just dig away.
Then when your pool's finished, we'll install your sprinkler system back to full coverage.
And now my backyard oasis is getting watered beautifully.
And maybe then, Dave, I could take another quick dip.
Bigger swimming trunks, John. Much bigger.
Clearwater Irrigation.
And drainage, too.
Collisions happen on every play in football. Collisions also happen every day on the road. If you need auto body repair, from a $30 job to a $30,000 job, trust San Jose Collision in Mandarin.
No matter what the reason, sending a floral arrangement from Kuhn Flowers always works. For unique and special gifts, visit their showroom on Beach Boulevard. Dylan Denmark here with 1010XL. Kuhn Flowers is my go-to and should be yours. Online at kuhnflowers.com.
Need or want cash? Beach's Jewelry and Pawn has cash available. Ready to buy guitars, surfboards, jewelry, firearms, tools, and especially gold. They need it all, selling or pawning. Get cash on the spot at Beach's Jewelry and Pawn in Jacksonville Beach.
Your hole-in-one for men's health is Ackerman Urology. With offices in Mandarin, Middleburg, World Golf Village, and the beaches, Ackerman will get you on par for any prostate conditions and sexual vitality. Visit AckermanUrology.com.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
Back here on 1010XL at 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. We are now inside of 1 month away from the NFL Draft, April 24th, 25th, and 26th up in Green Bay. The Jaguars 10 picks overall. Speaking of 10, that's the number of free agents the Jaguars brought in from outside the organization in what has been a very wild offseason to this point. Let's talk about all of it with Travis Holmes. He is the host of the Duval Dive podcast. You can also catch him at Big Cat Country. And Travis is always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL. Travis, how we doing?
Hey, man, I'm doing well. I've been getting into this Jacksonville Jaguars free agent class, and they've been very eerily silent, since the tampering period. But honestly, it feels like they're very comfortable where they are, so it's made my life pretty easy.
You know, you and I haven't spoke since free agency a couple of weeks ago. They added 10 guys, Travis. They were obviously very active. From a mile-high view, we'll get into the individual guys in a moment. How do you assess what they did in free agency?
From a mile-high view, I'm viewing this thing like they're approaching it like a winning organization. The Jacksonville Jaguars have been so entrenched in we have to be, active in the early days of free agency because we are not good at drafting. That I think Jacksonville fans and media alike are all kind of just used to that being the way, even though it's obviously been an unsuccessful way as of late. But when you want to be one of the winning teams in, the Green Bay Packers, the Ravens, the Steelers, etc., these are teams that historically are not very active in free agency, and that seems to be the philosophy that they're approaching with this.
James Gladstone, the Jaguars' new GM, Travis, repeatedly said in the free agent build-up that he wanted to, quote, raise the floor of the roster. I've translated that many times, and this is the hacker terminology. The floor of the roster sucked last year, and they wanted to raise it up. I mean, that's what he meant. I mean, he's not going to say that publicly, but actions are what you follow, and they brought in 10 guys, and they didn't re-sign any of their own free agents, which is wild what they probably thought of this roster that they inherited. Do you believe they did indeed raise the floor of the roster?
That's the part that's been arguable, and I think I've even heard you kind of ask that same question or kind of indicate the same thing, but I'm not sure that it's necessarily been raised, while it may just be different. So if you're more of a scheme fit, or if you bring in guys who are going to be at least a better fit for what you have, that doesn't mean the guys are necessarily better or worse. They're just different in the ways that you seem to prioritize. And I'm okay with that. But if you're looking one-to-one, I think that would be a hard argument to make that these guys are necessarily better one-to-one, but I think they may work as a collective in a better way. So I think I can understand their viewpoint of it, at least, that this might be a better, or if not equal, floor for the Jacksonville Jaguars, and probably at a cheaper rate.
Of the 10 guys that were brought in, 4 of those guys are along the offensive line. And when you have Tony Baselli now in that room talking about personnel decisions, obviously with Liam Cohen and with James Gladstone, I mean, what an indictment to what Trent Baalke did if the Jaguars went out and felt they needed to add 4 offensive linemen in pro free agency, not to mention probably they're going to add another guy or 2 in the draft coming up in a month's time.
I mean, that's it. I mean, you were saying it, but it should be an indictment because it's not like Trent Baalke didn't invest in the offensive line in his time as a general manager here or Doug Peterson. They absolutely did. They just weren't very good at it. Like, let's be clear. We're going to have the fourth starting center in 5 years in Duval County, the fourth starting guard in 5 years, third starting right guard. That's the offensive line. I mean, yeah, that's the worst part of all of this. It's not like they haven't tried and just missed on guys or gotten guys in free agency, gotten guys in the draft, and it just not work out. They have invested. They just weren't very good at picking the guys. So it was absolutely an indictment that there's been no consistency up front for the Jacksonville Jaguars run game and passing game. And they needed to bring in these 4 guys, maybe even 5, and just kind of see where the chips fall at the end of this draft season.
Travis Holmes, Big Cat Country, and the Duval Dive podcast with us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Travis, I don't know about you, but maybe the guy that intrigues me the most is Dyami Brown, mid-20s wide receiver, signing only a 1-year kind of a prove-it deal. Came on really good late with Washington, particularly in the playoffs. I got a sneaky suspicion that that's going to be a very under-the-radar signing, but that guy might be pretty good in a Jaguar uniform. What's your thought there?
That was probably, I say probably, that was my favorite signing after the first day of legal tampering. I said so on the Duval Dive podcast, and I'm still, honestly, I'm a coin flip on that one, and I'll acknowledge that. Like, I think it's one of those low risk, high reward kind of signings that that every football team should be making in free agency. If you're going to do it, it's $10 million 1 year. He's betting on himself, and the team's also betting on him in the same way. Because he had that explosion in the playoffs, you kind of just hoping that, all right, maybe this is the guy that we're going to get if we choose to use him in those same ways, running screens, being explosive, and kind of just opening up the middle of the field or the seams for Brian Thomas, who may be around that 40, maybe even 50%, snap share out of the slot. Knowing that Brian Thomas is going to be moved around to get him away from doubles, that makes some sense to me. But then I also had the additional question of, well, dang it, they couldn't have used, they couldn't have used Devin Duvernay in that same way. Man, he was only $3 million or so. So that was my real question, because they're around that same age range, Dyami Brown and Devin Duvernay. They're around, looking at their receiver stats, they're around the same area, and they are both pretty explosive straight line receivers. So I did have questions on that, so I'm just curious of how Dyami's going to be used, and whether or not that's one we'll look back on and say, they're basically the same or not. So we'll see if Dyami was right to bet on himself.
One of the interesting signings as well, maybe the most interesting signing, was Jordan Lewis, big-time money for a nickel corner, because we all thought Jarian Jones was the nickel corner. And I know you're out there at training camp and during the OTAs, and you take a particular interest in the defensive back, so you're a good person to ask. What do you make of that with Jarian Jones, and what do you think Jordan Lewis adds to the secondary?
That signing threw me off. I'll be clearly upfront and honest. Yeah, that one was one I'm like, oh, okay. I wasn't expecting that one. And just knowing that Jarian had much experience in his FSU days, often occasionally lining up in the strong safety role, lining up at outside corner for a year before obviously becoming an elite cornerback in the slot nickel role. So he has the experience to be an outside corner, but I do question whether or not the Jaguars are just going to end up using Jordan and the outside corner maybe on the early downs, then flipping him inside, using him more like a chess piece to be able to be moved, depending on if it's a passing down or run down, and then have Jarian play the outside, or just figure that out if they grab another guy in the draft, because that's still a possibility that they're going to get a legitimate outside corner in the draft, and then you just have a surplus of talent in that secondary. Like, that's absolutely a possibility of how this thing's going to work out. So I love Jordan Lewis. I've loved watching all of his old Dallas Cowboys arguments in training camp with Des Bryant. I love the fact that he talks so much crap, and it's so awesome. And he's seriously active on the socials for any of you, like on Twitter or on Instagram or whatever. Like, he's seriously active. He's going to be a fan favorite. So generally, I love the signing. I know they say, well, this is the highest paid cornerback in nickel back in the NFL. What is that? Who cares? It's not your money. Like, is he a dog or is he not? Is he going to be good in the secondary or is he not? If he's a good signing, I'm going to celebrate it all day, because we're talking about the highest paid nickel like we've ever cared about whether or not the person was a nickelback or an outside cornerback. In cornerback terms, it's not a crazy signing. It's not a crazy salary. So I'm fine with the signing. And as a DB guy, I applaud it. That's where I'm at.
Final moments. Travis Holmes, Big Cat Country. He's also the host of the Duval Dive podcast. You know, you look around at what the Jaguars did as well. 10 new guys. The 2 tight ends and the backup quarterback. We haven't spent a lot of time on there. But the more people I talk to in Los Angeles, Travis, the more I hear about this Hunter Long guy. And that Hunter Long might be a, quote, diamond in the rough, that he was never really given an opportunity. And obviously Gladstone knows him very well. Does anything about Long, Munt, or I guess Mullins stick out to you?
Honestly, I didn't know much about them before the signing, and at the end of all of it, everyone just said, hey, they're going to be great guys, great floor guys, great replacements for Luke Farrell. And in my head, that's like, all right, cool. So these are going to be some of your blocking tight end options who are going to be able to establish that run game, because we know that's something that the Jacksonville Jaguars have struggled to do, and that's something that Liam Cohen did very well in Tampa Bay. Get these guys in. I mean, even when the receivers got hurt, Mike Evans and Chris Godwin got hurt, they had to lean on those tight ends even heavier. And he's seen how that allowed them to have 3 yards in a cloud of dust, 4 yards in a cloud of dust, to having to build an efficient run game. Again, if we struggle with that, I am a fan of doing whatever is necessary to kind of get that thing going, because we haven't seen it in Jacksonville. We haven't seen it since Leonard Fournette's days. So I'm on board. If Hunter Long is going to be the one to do it, awesome. And if he's not, and we have to bring a rookie in to compete, then so be it.
You speaking of rookies, 10 outside free agents. Of those 10, no one along the interior front 7, or the exterior for that matter, front 7 of the defense, primarily the front 4 on the defensive line. Does that lead you to believe that Mason Graham talk should really intensify here in Jacksonville?
You got it. Like, that's where have they been spending the money? And you follow the money and you kind of figure out what the decisions are going to be from that point. So the fact that they haven't signed a defensive tackle to date, at least, they haven't signed a rotational edge or third edge option to date, at least, then you have to believe that they're going to either try to target that sort of person in the draft. And if they aren't able to sign that, then they'll sign a stopgap after the draft is over. Maybe someone like a Calais Campbell, or someone else who's out there, maybe as far as your rotational edge, or the same thing as far as a run-stopping defensive tackle. So from that perspective, that is where my lean is. It's Mason Graham, and it's been Mason Graham for the last few weeks, unless something crazy happens, like, maybe a Travis Hunter falls to 5 and you got a conversation to have.
Travis, I know you do more mock drafts than maybe anybody on planet Earth. I think you put one out like once a day, it seems like, on your social media platform. Yep. So you're, again, a great guy to ask about this. Post-free agency, still give me your top 2 or 3 positions of need, maybe outside defensive tackle for the Jaguars, as the draft is now 1 month away.
Top positions of need. I'm still going to have to say that second receiver spot is got to be up there, because the fact of the matter is you have a natural out in the contract of Gabe Davis after next year. You have obviously Parker Washington, that's also after the 2026 season, I believe. And looking at that wide receiver room right now, it's pretty much bare bones. Like, if you're talking guys who you can depend on. So I expect for them to be taking at least 1, if not 2 receivers in this draft. Additionally, the defensive tackle position is arguable to be a top opening, I should say. I would probably go with the safety room. They did bring in Eric Murray, of course, but we have questions on who that second safety is going to be. Are they truly going to give Dewey Wingard a chance to truly start back there, or are they going to lean on whatever that rookie that comes in? That's the question that's kind of lingering.
Travis Holmes, the Duval Dive podcast and Big Cat Country. Travis, tell us about both, the podcast and the website. Where can people find your work?
Well, yeah, bigcatcountry.com, and we are always going to be here to have you covered on any of the press conferences that's happening, any of what's being talked about currently as far as in the mock draft world. Earlier today, the team over at Big Cat Country released the mock draft roundup, which kind of just gives you an indication of where all the top mock draft individuals, the predictors of the mock, as you will, have been saying the Jacksonville Jaguars are going to be leaning in the draft. And you can probably guess that's going to be a lot of Mason Graham, but a little bit of Travis Hunter in there. But also on the Duval Dive podcast on YouTube, on wherever you catch your podcast, myself and Kyle, the student of the game Nash, with Fans First Sports Network, we kind of just talk about all the updates for the Jacksonville Jaguars a few times a week, probably 2 to 3 times a week. And you can find us on all the socials, Travis D. Holmes on X, Blue Sky, etc., and the Duval Dive on YouTube. And as always, man, thank you for having me, Duval. Let's go.
Travis Holmes of Big Cat Country and the Duval Dive podcast. Travis, I know you're busy. Thank you for the time, brother. We'll do it again soon.
Yes, sir.
This just on Hacker After Dark.
Appreciate Travis Holmes of Big Cat Country. So we had some drama downtown, Florida State. Florida State went to the ninth, top of the ninth, up 3-2. The Gators, with 2 outs, get 2 runs across the plate to go up 4-3. We go to the bottom of the ninth, and Florida State ties it 4-4, bases loaded, and how about a walk-off grand salami for the Noles? They walk it off in grand fashion, 8-4, Florida State over Florida, downtown Jacksonville tonight. They are celebrating in the Garnet and Gold. Denmark, look, it's not often you see a walk-off grand slam. What a moment for Florida State just moments ago.
Yeah, Florida State had runners at first and second, and then they walked, got bases loaded, and then one of them, they got the tying run. It was a routine ground ball to second, score a run. Runner was safe at first. The second baseman was playing closer to the bag for Florida. And then, he just gave up a routine ball right over the plate and popped the weasel. It went pretty far and went to right center where no fans went, and Florida State wins 8-4.
It was a no-doubter, too. So Florida State walks it off with a grand slam, 8-4 Seminoles over the Gators tonight here in downtown Jacksonville. Coming up next, more in the National Football League with Dylan Denmark. The Hacker Ryan Green with you. Jacksonville with you till 10 o'clock right here. Hacker After Dark rolls on 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
What's the deal with the show? The 1010XL Podcast Network is now available just about everywhere you find podcasts.
I mean, I think the show's going to be a huge hit.
Search for your favorite 1010XL podcast in your platform of choice.
Baloo here for Smunez Vision. Why Smunez Vision? Well, I've been with Dr. Neil Smunez now since I got back to Jacksonville in 2006. 37 years of experience he has. Smunez Vision is a family organization that focuses on personal high-quality medical and surgical eye care. Dr. Catherine Smunez is fellowship trained in cornea and cataract surgery and all refractive surgery. Combined, that's 30 years plus in laser eye surgery. Visit SmunezVision.com today. Here you can see.
Plumbing problem? AC acting up? Septic tank trouble? Don't waste time calling 3 different companies. Just call Duck Rooter. We offer plumbing, septic, and air conditioning services, making it easy for you to work with one trusted company and one simple bill. Every department has highly skilled experts trained for the job. For fast, reliable service from a company that does it all the right way, call 904-862-6769 or visit duckduckrooter.com.
I'm here with Danny Van Sickle, director of the Electrical Training Alliance. Danny, tell me about your program.
Hey, Rick, we're a 4-year electrical apprenticeship. Our students start out making over $40,000 a year and right now make over $90,000 a year, including benefits. There is no tuition or student debt. You just have to apply and get accepted.
Did you say no tuition and no student debt?
You heard that right, Rick. Once you're accepted to the program, your only cost for the books and the course fees, about $800 a year.
That sounds like an amazing opportunity. How can I learn more?
Just go to etajax.org and you can apply there.
Apply by May 15th.
This is your Mad Dad's Update with Chapter President Donald Ford. In our effort to curb crime, drugs, and violence during the summer months, we are offering Friday Night Lights. It has already started and will be going until school starts back. It is every Friday night from 6:30 to 9:30 at the Blacktop, 5732 Normandy Boulevard, and behind the Potter's House Christian Academy. We manage 3 basketball courts. You are not running on the cement. We have covering on each court. the Lakers, the Magic, and the Heat. Ages 15 to 40 years old. This will give them something to do other than selling drugs and getting into trouble. We have monitors there giving leadership. We have to wake up, stand up, and speak up. Hit me on Facebook and tell me what you think. Or matt-jacksonville.com.
The Combine, free agency, the draft.
We're professionals. We have a job to do, a season to plan.
Follow the road to the regular season with AA Automotive on Richard Street. Family run since 1954 and 1010XL.
At Cannons of Jacksonville, they know that when you're towing anything, you gotta have products you can rely on. With over 50 years of fabrication expertise, the family at Cannons can repair or install precisely what you need to tow with confidence. Whether it's a heavy-duty hitch, trailer frame, gooseneck, tow bar, or any other towing accessory, Cannons will provide you with unmatched precision and durability. For all your towing needs, visit cannonsofjacks.com, where quality and customer satisfaction collide.
Frank Frangie here for Stanley Pools. If you're dreaming of putting in a pool this year, choosing the right company is the most important decision you'll make. I've trusted Stanley Pools to build my pool, renovate my pool, and maintain my pool. Stanley Pools has been the best in the business since 1988, and they're still family-owned. Call them today at 904-269-7277 or find them online at stanleypoolsfl.com. That's Stanley Pools, a family tradition of fine swimming pools.
You waited forever for your new fence. Then strangers show up. Subcontractors rushing the job. Sent by the company you trusted. Frustrating, right? Superior Fence and Rail promises better. Their professionally trained builders deliver quality you can trust. No subcontractors, no shortcuts. Just the superior craftsmanship your home deserves.
When you're on the fence, about a fence, superiorfenceandrail.com.
This is Hayes Carline for Kingfish Pest Control. Mosquito season is upon us, but don't let them take over. The secret to a bite-free yard is starting today with Kingfish Pest Control. Their 3-step mosquito defense process stops them before they can spread. Eliminate breeding areas, build a protective barrier around your yard, and monthly treatments to keep them away all season long. The earlier you start, the fewer mosquitoes you'll have to fight. Don't let those suckers ruin your outdoor fun. Call Kingfish Pest Control, proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
I'm with Greg from Cycles of Jacksonville, and there's so many cool products that are on the line at Cycles of Jacksonville. Showroom is Atlantic and Regency, and we're talking, Greg, you've got from any level of price point, the experienced rider to the inexperienced on-road, off-road.
We've got it. We've got ATVs, we've got motorcycles, we've got scooters, we even have the new Honda boats. We've got something for everyone.
Don't forget about the boat line from Honda. It's all right there, waiting for you. Atlantic and Regency or Cycles of Jacksonville's Facebook page.
Navy Mutual would like to salute all Medal of Honor recipients that have been given our nation's highest award. In 1990, Congress designated March 25th as National Medal of Honor Day, and it was signed into law by President George H.W. Bush.
Committed to the mission. At Navy Mutual, we're committed to providing high-quality life insurance to members of the military and their families. Because at Navy Mutual, our highest commitment is to you. Visit NavyMutual.org.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
Glad you're with us here on Hacker After Dark. Matt Verderam, Sports Illustrated, and the Monday Morning Quarterback joins us in less than 10 minutes to not only talk Jaguar offseason, but look around the rest of the division. Talking Tennessee, Houston, and Indianapolis. Really interesting aspects for every AFC South team with a month to go until the NFL draft, what every team did in free agency, or I guess in Tennessee's instance, what they did not do in free agency. So Matt Verderam of SI, less than 10 minutes away. Big time atmosphere downtown Jacksonville tonight, down at the stadium. Florida State baseball tonight. And look, give credit to Florida State, trailing 4-3 in the bottom of the ninth. The Noles walk it off. They tie it 4-4, and then a grand slam walk-off. I've seen a lot of things in person. Never seen a grand slam walk-off in person. So the Florida State fans downtown tonight will certainly have a memory of a lifetime as a walk-off grand slam over your rival as Florida State beats Florida on the diamond tonight, 8-4. You know, we talked about the AFC South briefly just then. All indications are that Tennessee is going to draft Cam Ward with the number 1 overall pick. Cam Ward had his pro day yesterday down in South Florida. Tennessee apparently is more convicted about Cam Ward than maybe they were before that. And I believe Adam Schefter had the message earlier that Tennessee is not 100% on Cam Ward, but they're getting there. And it's less likely now they're going to trade out. They're going to need to be offered something awesome, basically, to get out of that number 1 spot. Denmark, you saw a lot of Cam Ward, and considering he's probably going to be the next quarterback of the arch rival Tennessee Titans, what kind of pro do you think Cam Ward's going to be in the National Football League?
I have no idea. I think he'll be all right. I mean, if any of the guys that I think are going to be successful, I'd probably say him, but you're going to a really bad situation. And, you know, we always talk about the talent of the quarterbacks coming out in the draft. But a lot of it has to do with your coach and the situation that you go to and the team that you go to. So, you know, he's got a tall order, and it wouldn't surprise me if, you know, they have a 3-4 win season, they fire their coach and they hit the reset button, and, you know, you restart from there. So
kind of like what happened with Trevor here.
Yeah, or Caleb Williams.
Yeah, or Caleb Williams. I heard an interesting comparison. I asked, forget who I asked. It was somebody recently. I have so many draft guys on. I was talking about Cam Ward, and I said, give me an NFL comparable to Cam Ward. And they said, the good Deshaun Watson. The Deshaun Watson in Houston, before Deshaun Watson became what he's become in the last couple of years. And that's a scary thought, because Deshaun Watson in Houston was outstanding. And obviously the Jaguars saw him twice a year, and Deshaun Watson gave the Jaguars the business twice a year. So for the Jaguars' sake, I hope Cam Ward is not the good Deshaun Watson. I'm certainly rooting for Cam Ward. I have nothing against him, but the reality is he's going to be the quarterback of the Tennessee Titans, which is going to be a twice opponent of the Jaguars every year. Tennessee's going to be in Jacksonville's way. If Cam Ward turns out to be decent, well, then all of a sudden you got Trevor Lawrence in Jacksonville, you got C.J. Stroud in Houston, you got Cam Ward in Tennessee. You thought you had Anthony Richardson in Indy, although I think that's in a lot of jeopardy. And not one of those guys is older than the age of 25 right now. Trevor would be the oldest guy at 25. I believe he turns 26 in October. But again, you could have really good young quarterbacks at every AFC South team that are looking to turn these franchises around. C.J. Stroud has basically already done that in Houston. Trevor has not accomplished that yet here. Anthony Richardson certainly has not accomplished that in Indy. And who knows if he's going to be given another opportunity. And we'll see if Cam Ward turns out to be the pick, if he can turn the franchise around with the Tennessee Titans. But let's spend some time on the AFC South, on Indy, on Tennessee and Houston, and certainly spend some time on what the Jaguars have done this offseason. One of my favorites, Matt Verderam of SI and the Monday Morning Quarterback. He joins us next. We're with you till 10 o'clock right here on Hacker After Dark. We're glad you're with us. It's 1010XL, and it's 92.5 FM.
The station that keeps coming back for more. More Jaguars, more Gators, more sports talk for Jackson. 1010XL, when you want more.
Hi, it's Rick Ballou. I hope you'll join me and some former NFL players for an incredible event at the end of March, the Lone Warrior Foundation 2025 Champions of Hope Charity Golf and Tennis Challenge. March 31st at Marsh Landing will support single-parent families in their fight against cancer. An opportunity to win sensational prizes, but more importantly, we will bring meaningful hope and support to the lives of families affected. To sign up, go to LoneWarriorFoundation.com. That's LoneWarriorFoundation.com.
St. Johns County parents, does your kid have energy to burn? Want them to play a sport for their middle school? Sign up today for the St. John's Middle School Athletic Association. Spring pickleball, tackle football, dance, and cheerleading. Who doesn't want their kid to be the next NFL quarterback or dance floor diva? Hurry, time is running out. March is almost over. You know how fast your kid can go from playing Xbox to practicing their touchdown dance or sideline cheer? Sign up at sjmsaa.org. sjmsaa.org.
Bueller.
Stay cooler with Bueller.
Hey, buddy, you look worried.
Worried? I'm apoplectic!
You're what now?
I'm freaking out, Jason. Stupid water heater crapped out, so I haven't showered since Thursday. I start smelling a little funky, blow my big corporate job interview tomorrow, I'll end up settling for some dead-end career selling spatulas on the internet.
Dude, stay cool.
There's nothing cool about a cold shower, Jason. I mean, I know how that sounds, but
Bueller Air and Plumbing can get a new water heater installed today. The day you call. You could be smelling fresh again by dinner time.
Wait, you can do that?
Put on these sunglasses.
Whoa.
Is that cooler?
Oh, yeah.
Well, life moves pretty fast. If you spend much more time smelling like this, you could miss it.
Stay cooler with Bueller.
Visit BuellerAir.com.
Paying rent can feel like throwing money away. And when you're spending so much, it can be hard to see yourself buying a home. So Rocket Mortgage is helping you put your monthly rent towards home ownership with Rent Rewards. For the first time, save up to $5,000 off the cost of your first home just by paying rent. Only at Rocket Mortgage. Call 800-4ROCKET or visit rocket.com to find out more.
Rocket Mortgage, LLC. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLSConsumerAccess.org. Number 3030.
1010XL celebrates high scorers.
1010XL and Southeast Orthopedic Specialists celebrate scholar athletes.
In class and on the court.
Brought to you by the Plumbers and Pipefitters Local Union 234. Wednesdays on The Frangie Show. Here's your 1010XL community calendar of local events and nonprofit groups helping people here at home.
Young Lives is a nonprofit helping teen moms flourish in their communities with the help of support and love. Join Young Lives at Topgolf Sunday, March 30th from 2 to 5 for their community fundraiser. Sponsor or learn more at jacksmetroyounglives.younglife.org.
Go fishing for your share of more than $40,000 in cash and prizes at the Wolfson Children's Hospital Bass Tournament. Register by May 13th.
You can help Micah's Place support domestic violence victims by playing in the Par for a Purpose Golf Tournament June 20th at the stunning Golf Club of Amelia Island. Register at micahsplace.org/golf.
Her Song is a nonprofit organization that breaks the cycle of human trafficking through survivor care, victim outreach, and education. Find out how you can help at hersong.org.
You can find out how to share your community event at 1010XL.com.
Mia here. It's that time again. The Ready, Set, Go sales event is back and going on now at Arlington Toyota. Just announced 0% on select new Toyota models has been extended. 0%. You can even get financing as low as 1.99% on select new trucks. Arlington has over 80 Tacomas and over 75 Tundras available. Shop the Ready, Set, Go sales event at Arlington Toyota now through March 31st. In person on Atlantic Boulevard, just a quarter mile east of 295 or at arlingtontoyota.com.
My son had a meniscus surgery a couple years ago. When it's smooth as silk, Dr. Kevin Murphy did it. Was playing tennis in 2 weeks. This is Patrick Malarkey, and I highly recommend
Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
Hi, I'm Karen, owner of Clay Solar Installation Partners, your local women-owned solar company. At Clay Solar, we're more than just panels and power. We're about people. We make the switch to clean energy simple, stress-free, and built to last. If you've had a bad experience with solar in the past, we can help. We specialize in dependable solutions and top-notch customer service, so you can finally enjoy the savings and sustainability you deserve. Schedule your free consultation at claysolar.com.
It's March Madness, and your office needs a champion. Advanced Business Solutions teams up with Xerox to bring you copiers that never miss a shot. Fast, reliable, and ready to handle the pressure. Make the winning play for your business. Hire the champions at Advanced Business Solutions, where your business goes for the win. Locally and veteran-owned.
Print documents and IT management. Advanced Business Solutions.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, the cool down from the cool guys at Donovan Air Electric and Plumbing. Fast, reliable, and honest service since '87.
Back here on 1010XL at 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. The Jacksonville Jaguars have added 10 outside free agents, which is tied for the most of any team in the National Football League. Maybe as interesting as that is they haven't re-signed any of their own free agents. It has been a total roster cleanse, if you will, from Liam Cohen, James Gladstone, and Tony Baselli. Let's talk about all of it, what it means, and let's look around the rest of the AFC South with Matt Verderam of Sports Illustrated and the Monday Morning Quarterback. Matt's always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL. Matt, how we doing, man?
Doing well, Ryan. How are you?
Hey, Matt, we're good. Thank you for the time. And all right, you and I spoke briefly after Liam Cohen was hired, and since that point, good gracious, a 34-year-old general manager, Tony Baselli, now the EVP of football operations, and the Jaguars have been the most active team in NFL free agency. What have you made of what's transpired here over the last 6 weeks or so?
Yeah, look, I think Jacksonville did what it should have done earlier and moved on from Trent Baalke. Now, should it have happened earlier? Yes, but better late than never, right? So they move on. I like Liam Cohen a lot. Like, I know his press conference, like some people nationally, did the whole Duval thing. Fine, I don't care. He can coach. Liam Cohen, you talk to people around the league, is a very well-respected offensive mind, and not just because he worked around Sean McVay. I mean, when he was in Tampa Bay, that was a team that was not expected to be very good, and yet he shows up, and offensively, they're one of the best teams in football. So I think he is going to really be an asset for Trevor Lawrence going forward. Now, with Gladstone, he's a young guy, obviously. You mentioned he's 34 years old. He looks like he's 15 years old. I mean, he is as green as it gets. That said, though, I don't know if that's the worst thing. Like, I always applaud franchises for going out and getting a guy who they feel like, look, this guy's got a real future, and he's not just some retread, some guy who's been in 3 organizations, who's a name that maybe some hardcore fans will recognize. And to that end, I think Gladstone's done a good job. Look, Jacksonville for years and years and years, for better or worse, has been an organization that they have spent huge dollars in free agency. They've signed guys to huge contracts. I mean, whether we're going back to like the Malik Jackson days or even more recent times where they've just gone out, even a year ago where they gave Armstead a big deal. And they've always been a team that they've been willing to lay out huge money, and then they usually end up cutting guys, and there's dead cap. I think they did well this offseason to not do that, even though it sometimes is the shiny toys out there, and you feel like that'll get you better grades and those free agency things that we all do. I think it was smart not to just go out and invest massive dollars in 2 or 3 guys to make yourself feel better temporarily.
The interesting thing, Matt, and I agree with you, James Gladstone has used this saying a lot in his press conferences since he got hired. They wanted to raise the floor of the Jaguar roster. Translation, they thought the roster was terrible, or at least the bottom half of the roster, but he was being nice about it, saying they wanted to raise the floor. And they brought in 10 guys, including 4 on the offensive line. Patrick McCarry and Robert Hainsey, the center from Tampa, probably are going to start. What do you make of 4 offensive linemen being part of this free agent haul?
Well, I think it tells you, without saying a word, that they thought the offensive line last year was bad, and it was bad. It's been bad. It's been a problem. It's been a problem for years. So, look, this is an offensive line where, over the years, Jacksonville has invested in it, whether it's been free agency dollars like a Mitch Morse, or it's been going out and using high draft picks. Cam Robinson, Jawan Taylor, obviously the Harrison a few years ago. And I think this is a situation where Gladstone looked at it and said, all right, look, McCarry comes from an organization where I know he's been coached right, and he's got some versatility. And he's a guy who has started a decent amount of games. He's played all over the line. We feel like he can fit in here. And look, that's not a bad bet in a class, both free agency and in the draft, where the guard market's insane. The tackle market is non-existent because there are no tackles worth signing. I mean, you look at like Tennessee across the division, giving $82 million to Dan Moore to me is just bonkers. Like that's a contract that I think in 2 years they're going to be looking to get out of. I think if you're Jacksonville, look at Hainsey. He knows the offense. He played in Liam Cohen's off like that. To me, I remember actually writing about that signing for SI, and I gave it a good grade. I think I gave it an A-. Like, that's it. That's a smart signing. That guy's a guy. He started a lot of games. He knows the scheme. He knows the system. He knows all the checks and calls and protections. Like, that's going to be a big help to Trevor Lawrence, who's now going to learn this system. So I think it's signing like that. You look at it and just go, oh, yeah, okay, fine. He's a decent center. Yeah, but there's more to it than that. And I think that was a good move for both the player and the team.
Matt Verderam of Sports Illustrated with us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Matt, the other, impacted area was the secondary. Jordan Lewis becomes one of the highest paid nickel corners in the league. Eric Murray at safety, a guy you're familiar with certainly from as many years as he's been in the NFL. Look, people around here wanted Javon Holland, right? They wanted Cam Bynum. They wanted Moehrig, the big names. But Gladstone repeatedly has also said the safety position, the word safe. And he said that over and over again. The Jaguars were anything but that last year with all the blown coverages in the secondary. Eric Murray might not sell a lot of season tickets, but Eric Murray is a good, solid, safe safety, which is probably something the Jaguars need after last year.
Yeah, and I think if you're Jacksonville, you're not looking to spend huge money at safety right now because there are other needs. Look, Jordan Lewis comes in, and he's a guy. He's a veteran. I mean, he's been in the league now, not quite a decade, but close to it. Comes over from Dallas, which the Cowboys have their own issues, but they've had some very good secondaries, including Lewis, over the years. He's going to give them some veteran leadership. Look, Darby's out the door, right? I mean, he was a guy who was there, no longer is, of course, and now it's Tyson Campbell, and then it's a bunch of open questions. Andre Sisco gone, at safety. So you bring in some new blood there, and they needed it. Their pass defense has been the worst pass defense in the NFL the last 2 years. They've not been able to stop anybody. And so, now, okay, Campbell, is a very good player. You add in Jordan Lewis. Jordan Lewis isn't great. He's probably never going to see a Pro Bowl, but he's solid. He's fine. Murray, I would say look, he's not a guy who's going to be a first-team All-Pro, but at the same point, Javon Holland's never been to a Pro Bowl. Cam Bynum's never been to a Pro Bowl. Like, you talk to people around the league, and I'm not saying Holland and Bynum aren't good players or even better players than Murray. They are. But am I looking to spend massive money on a guy that is good and not really good or great? No, probably not. This free agency class, you talk to people in the NFL, was atrocious compared to a lot of them over the years. And, I just think if you're Gladstone, you're not looking to make some massive investment in a safety if the guy's not going to be a perennial Pro Bowl type player, an all pro level player. Otherwise, yeah, Murray's fine. Again, kind of to your point earlier, it raises the floor. It raises that depth, that roster construct. Those guys who are like the 10th through the 30th best players on your team. Those guys help. Those guys matter. And Jacksonville did that with those two signings.
I want to look around the division as we wrap up, Matt, but I haven't talked to you since we mentioned the purge, right? The Jaguars had in one day, they cut like 5 guys, including trading Christian Kirk and releasing Evan Ingram. Saved a lot of cap money, and both guys have had injury problems as of late, but what did you make of that?
I wasn't totally surprised. Look, I mean, Kirk, obviously, as you mentioned, had some injuries. Big cap number. I'll be honest. I thought, now I know they got virtually nothing. I get it. They got a 7th round pick in the future, but I was surprised they got anything. I was shocked that Houston was willing to take on that cap hit. And then somehow, for reasons I still don't understand, turn around, trade Laramie Tunsil. Look, the rest of the guys, Evan Ingram is a good player, but again, there's an injury history there. I think they probably looked at Evan Ingram and said, getting a little long in the tooth. Let's save some money. Let's turn the roster over. I don't blame him. Duvernay, fine. Okay. Not anything I'm worried about. I think if you're Gladstone, you're looking at this year and you're saying, all right, we're going to get younger. We're probably looking to get a little bit more athletic, especially on defense in the back end. This is a team that, are they going to win the Super Bowl? No. I mean, but that's not what this year is about. This year is about resetting. It's about building a foundation for going forward. And to be honest, look, if they can get Lawrence going and get him playing the way he was a couple years ago, I mean, you look at the division, and it's not like you're in some division that you go, oh, my God, there's no way. I mean, if they have a really good draft, and they're going to need a really good draft to be competing this year, but, like, if they do that, you look around that division. I mean, the division is not exactly a tower of power. I would argue it's the worst division in football. So maybe the NFC South has that mantle, fine, but the AFC South isn't far behind it.
Final moments with Matt Verderam, and let's talk about that division. Houston has added 3 former Jaguars now, Ronald Darby, Christian Kirk, and then they signed Cam Robinson, presumably, to replace Laramie Tunsil, which people here are getting kind of a chuckle out of. What do you make of what the Texans have done? Because they've gotten ridiculed a lot, particularly what they did on the offensive line so far.
I think they have the worst offseason in the NFL. I would have said maybe Cincinnati had that mantle, but they signed Jason Higgins, and you could argue that the intelligence of doing that or the wares of doing that based on the way that team played defense last year. I don't understand what Houston's doing. I have no idea. I don't get it. Offensively, look, you lose Diggs, and Tank Dell is probably, likely an unfortunate out for the season. You have Nico Collins and nobody. Like Christian Kirk to me, whatever, it's fine, but it's not moving the needle. They have one meaningful weapon. Their offensive line gave up 54 sacks last year. Only Cleveland and Chicago gave up more. And their answer to that was to trade away their star left tackle to bring in Cam Robinson. And then they also brought in Laken Tomlinson and Ed Ingram. Those 2 of the worst starting guards in football this past season. I mean, that offensive line is somehow a lot worse than it was, and they were one of the worst 3 in the league last year. Like, I don't get it. I don't understand what the thought process is. I look at Houston. If I was CJ Stroud, I'd be furious. You're giving me one of the worst offensive lines in football. You're giving me an aging running back who, when Mixon had a good year last year, to be fair to him, but he's getting older. And then I've got Nico Collins. I've got nobody else. Nobody. I have no threat that's going to scare any decent defense. I mean, look, I still think you have to say they're the best team in the division, but that's by default. Like, I don't look at them as a contender. They're not going to put any fear into the Chiefs or the Bills or the Ravens. They're not going to beat those teams. I think they've had a really bad offseason.
Yeah, I agree. And one of the more interesting off seasons is Indianapolis. Look, they spent in the secondary in a big way with Travarius Ward and Cam Bynum. But they've given Anthony Richardson an ultimatum. I mean, Daniel Jones got a huge one-year contract. Who's going to be the starting quarterback, Jones or Richardson, in your opinion?
Yeah, I mean, this is probably I don't know how hot of a take it is, but probably my hottest for whatever that is. I think Jones is going to be the starting quarterback. Mm-hmm. I really do. I've gone to camp the last 2 years in Indianapolis. So, I usually do the Midwest for us over at SI. And, Anthony Richardson has all the physical gifts in the world, but he's not good. Like, he's just flat not good. I mean, maybe he has a Josh Allen arc to him where Allen wasn't good the first couple of years and all of a sudden, like, everything changed. But that is the exception to the rule. That is not normal. And a lot of that, too, is Brian Dable coming in, things changing for Allen. Like, Richardson, the argument for him is that he has not played a lot of football in college or the pros, and that the light's just going to go on with more experience. But I got to tell you, I know the Colts will deny this publicly. When he tapped out of that game in Houston, to me, that was it. Like, guys in the room look at that, and you're just done with a lot of guys. Like, guys are like, you're the quarterback. I mean, you're tapping out because you're tired. Like, you can't lead me. I don't believe in you. I think the Colts roster, if you take away the quarterback, it's pretty good. It's a pretty good roster. Like, I learned a little about the offensive line. They lost some guys there. But, like, it's a roster that's a borderline playoff caliber roster. But that quarterback situation is just a mess. I don't believe in either guy. I think Steichen's going to have a tough time elevating that offense.
And Tennessee, as we wrap up, Matt, they have a lot of money to spend, and they chose basically not to spend any except for Dan Moore, like you mentioned. Yeah. I know people in Nashville are fuming about what they did not do this offseason. Has Tennessee improved themselves at all? I guess Cam Ward's also going to be in that equation.
I mean, we'll see what the draft holds. I don't give out a whole lot of F grades. I gave that signing an F. I just don't get it. Like, the Steelers watched Dan Moore play for 3 years. And their answer to that was, we're drafting Broderick Jones in the first round because it's that big of a need. And then they kept Dan Moore on the left side. They put Jones on the right side. And Moore played last year, and they watched him play a fourth year and then said, you know what, we're not even going to try to retain you. Have fun and crazy. Good luck to you. I don't get it. Like, the Chiefs paid Jalen Moore 2 years, $30 million. He is far less experienced than Dan Moore. But Jalen Moore is at this point, like, if you're asking me, would I rather pay him $2 and $30 and bet on some upside, or pay $4 and $82 for a guy like, I've seen him for 4 years. He's a guy. He's not awful, but he's not good. The Steelers just let him walk out the door for nothing. I think Tennessee, look, I get it. They're trying to build up front. I understand what they're doing, but that team's got a long way to go. I mean, they need to hit on Ward if they take him. And they need to hope that offensive line just doesn't get him killed, because they have invested a lot over the years, whether it's J.C. Latham, whether it's Peter Skoronski, like on down the line. They've put a lot into Isaiah Wilson years ago. It's just a complete disaster. And it's been a failure. I still think they're the worst team in the division, and I don't know that it's even particularly close.
That speaks to what you said earlier. The AFC South, all the teams have a lot of work to do here as the offseason continues. Yeah. Matt, tell us about SI, what you have coming out in the coming days and weeks.
Yeah, certainly check out SI.com. The site just got redesigned. It looks great. As far as me, I don't have a whole lot coming out in the coming days and weeks. I'm actually going to take a vacation for the first time in about 9 months. But, look, I'll have one project I will say that I'm doing is this thing that we've devised called the Ultimate Mock Draft. It is basically making fun of the fact that everybody does 8,000 mock drafts. So I went back to 1967 when the Common Draft started, and I am picking the best player ever taken at every draft slot in NFL history.
Wow.
And I got to tell you, it's been an undertaking. It's also been really interesting. It's been a lot of fun. That's going to come out here in a few weeks. I hope people read it.
I like that. I like that a lot. Matt Verderam, one of our favorites from Sports Illustrated. Matt, enjoy the downtime. We'll talk again soon, pal.
You got it. Anytime.
And thank you to Matt Verderam of Sports Illustrated for joining us tonight here on Hacker After Dark. Always enjoy talking Jaguar football, the offseason so far. And a look around the division with Matt Verderam. And look, Matt talked about something that we mentioned last week as well. This division, the AFC South, has had, an interesting offseason, right, to say the least. Tennessee had a lot of money to spend, and they basically chose not to spend a lot of it, except on an offensive tackle and Dan Moore that was head-scratching for a lot of people. Looks like they're going to draft Cam Ward number 1 in the draft. We'll see how that works out. Indianapolis very rarely spends money, but they actually did this offseason in their secondary. But they also have a full-blown quarterback controversy on their hands because they also gave Daniel Jones like $14 million to compete with Anthony Richardson. And then Houston, who really knows what they're doing, particularly on the offensive line, as many people will tell you that Houston has had the worst offseason of any team in the NFL to this point, player personnel-wise. And then you got Jacksonville here, of course, massive roster turnover, new GM, new coaching staff. So the division is wide open, to say the least. I think Matt alluded to that, and we certainly appreciate that perspective here this evening. So we did spend a lot of time on the Jacksonville Jaguars, also spent a lot of time on the Sweet 16. We're less than 48 hours away from tip-off in San Francisco, Florida, and Maryland Thursday night. You'll hear the game right here on 10:10 a.m. as, it's a big game for Florida and the Southeastern Conference as a whole. 7 of the Sweet 16 still remain, and those games get underway in less than 48 hours. Well, that will just about do it. It has been a very, very busy Tuesday night edition of Hacker After Dark. We certainly appreciate you guys hanging out with us here on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM. We have a ton of people to thank. Again, Matt Verderam of Sports Illustrated. Certainly appreciate Matt joining us this evening. Thank you to Travis Holmes of Big Cat Country. He's also the host of the Duval Dive podcast. Always love talking Jaguar football with Travis. And back in hour number 1, my buddy Mark Wise of ESPN to talk Florida, the SEC, and the Sweet 16. Mark will actually be on an NIT quarterfinal call tomorrow night He's traveling up to Chicago today, but he took time out for us, and we certainly thank Mark Wise for doing that. Now, we will be back tomorrow night, and we will do it all over again right here on Hacker After Dark, beginning at 8 o'clock. Dylan Denmark was your producer tonight. Dylan, great job as always. I'm the Hacker Ryan Green. And again, Jacksonville, thank you for spending part of your Tuesday evening with us right here on Hacker After Dark on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM. So for all of us here on HAD, have an absolutely terrific remainder of your Tuesday evening, and we will talk to you again tomorrow night on a Wednesday beginning at 8 o'clock. Until then, good night, Jacksonville.
Blue here for the Blue Crab House, located right off of San Jose. It's on Jewington Creek Road. They've been around since 1996. Indoor-outdoor dining. Also, takeout is available at the Blue Crab House. Open 4:30 to 9, Tuesday through Saturday. Sunday, noon until 9. Remember, Tuesday, $2 margaritas. Wednesday, $1 oyster night. How about the blue crabs? How about my personal favorite, the Canadian snow crabs? Whatever it is that you fancy, you get it right there. The